It is currently December 11th, 2023, as I'm recording this. And earlier today, I had my final chemistry exam of the semester for the college class I'm taking right now. It's just general chemistry, but still, it's pretty difficult. The class is pretty hard. So, of course, yesterday I was spending basically the entire day studying for this exam. I wanted to dedicate basically the entire day to just studying for this one test. Which makes sense, it's the final exam, so yeah, kind of go big or go home. I kind of needed to get a good grade on this also to get a A in the class, so it was kind of a big deal to study a lot for this final exam. So I just said the whole day, I'll go to church and everything, but besides that, I'm going to spend the entire day studying. And I even had to say no to some opportunities. I had to say no to possibly hanging out with people throughout the day. I had to say no to, maybe spending more time with my families, maybe working on these videos so I could focus on studying for this test. And I did that because I knew how important this was. This was the final exam. I had to spend all day studying, of course. So that's what I did. I spent a lot of time studying. I spent several hours working on it, just nonstop, practicing problems, listening to music and podcasts while I did so, and everything was looking good, but when it reached 9 p.m., I kind of fell apart a bit. I just stopped focusing on the studying. I picked up my phone. I scrolled a little bit on Instagram. I texted someone for a good 30 minutes to an hour. And from 9 p.m. on, the day was wasted. And sure, that's just like an hour or 2 hours, but those were an hour or 2 hours that I didn't spend any time studying. It just has me thinking, if I was willing to basically waste an entire hour, what was the point of all this, dedicating the entire day to studying? What was the whole point of all this, grinding I wanted to do if all I needed was to get a little bit tired and I'd waste a whole hour of my day just scrolling online, talking to people about nonsense stuff. It reminds me of an important thing that I think everyone who wants to improve their lives has to keep in mind, that when you're managing your time, you have to be consistent with the kind of stuff you're cutting out. You can't just say no to, hanging out with friends and then spend 3 hours playing video games instead. Because both are a waste of your time, and if you're cutting out things that are a waste of your time, you can't leave some and take out others. You can't have your cake and eat it too, as they say. You can't have it both ways. You can't make exceptions for some things but not others. It reminds me even of a classic meme I've seen many times before, which is basically saying, you can't find the time to work on your goals, but you find time to stream an entire show on Netflix or to play video games all day. You find time for these things, but not the actually important things. You see, you really have to be consistent with your time management if you're doing this. I'm not saying you can't rest, because rest is, of course, very important. You need to rest. I certainly make time in my day for resting, but I aim to try to not make my entire day for resting, for example. Of course, I don't do it every day. I just mentioned yesterday, I kind of failed at the end of the day. I think this strategy of choosing wisely when you're giving yourself time to rest is probably the best way to go about it. Because if you don't rest at all, you're going to be breaking the 7th habit of 7 habits of highly effective people, which is to renew yourself constantly every single day. You're just going to burn yourself out, and you're going to just feel horrible if you never rest. But at the same time, if you don't set limits on the amount of time you give yourself to recuperate and rest, you're just going to do it all day. You're going to spend an entire day basically doing unnecessary things that you should not be doing. I've been personally doing something recently where I've been allowing myself about 1 to 2 hours on weekend nights, so the nights before a Saturday or the night before a Sunday, where I just allow myself to basically do the unnecessary activities that I restrained myself from doing the entire week, like just watching YouTube videos, which is a big one, of course, because I usually have a list of YouTube videos that I wanted to watch, but just weren't really the best use of my time. And I just watch those, and I enjoy this 1 to 2 hours that I give myself to do this. So that's just one example of how you can do it. The most important thing to remember is you have to be consistent with how you spend your time and how you manage your time. You can't say no to one thing when you're doing plenty of other time-wasting activities on the other end. You have to find balance. You have to know how to say no constantly because you have a deeper yes burning inside of you for the goal you really want to accomplish in your life, no matter what that is. This is Jimmy, signing off.